Two guys, same savings, same age, same Social Security check every month. They both talked to professionals. They both ran the numbers. They both hit retirement with the exact same amount in their account, $480,000. One of them runs out of money at 79. The other still has wealth at 83 and even leaves an inheritance. So what happened? That's what this video is about. And by the time you get to the end, you'll understand why most people are repeating the exact same mistake one of them made without even realizing it. The first guy's name is Donnie, 66 years old, $480,000 in his 401k, $1,850 a month from Social Security. He retired last week. Walter is also 66, same balance, same check, retired the same week, same starting line, completely different outcomes. Now you might be thinking, I know why one of them failed. One of them spent too much. Maybe. But here's the question no one's ever asked you before. What does too much even mean? Who decided that number? And does that definition still make sense for the world you're retiring into today? Before we get into the numbers, let's make sure this comparison is completely fair. Donnie and Walter aren't characters in some financial fairy tale. They're just two regular guys with regular lives. They both retired at 66. They both have $480,000 in their 401k. They both get $1,850 a month from Social Security. Neither of them has any meaningful debt. Both are in decent health. Same age, same net worth, same check every month. The only difference between them isn't in their bank account, it's in their behavior. And that's exactly why this comparison matters. Because if the difference came from inheritance, income, or luck, you could just say, that's not me. But that's not what's going on here. Donnie and Walter started in the exact same place. And from here on out, we're going to follow every step each of them takes. Folks, we're getting close to 1,000 subscribers on this channel, and honestly, seeing this community grow has been something else. These are people who actually stop and think before they spend. People who run the numbers. People like you. If you want to be part of that, the subscribe button is right there. Let's hit 1,000 together. In the first year, Donnie's living his best life. He traveled, renovated the house, helped his kids, lived freely, no guilt, and why wouldn't he? He's got $480,000 plus $1,850 a month from Social Security. He did the math. It should last, but there's a problem, a quiet one. Donnie is pulling out somewhere between 6 and 7% of his savings every year. 6 to 7%. What do experts usually recommend? 4%. That's the so-called 4% rule, the long-standing benchmark for sustainable withdrawals in retirement. 4% of $480,000 is $19,200 a year, or about $1,600 a month. Donnie's spending almost double that just from his savings, not even counting Social Security, but he doesn't notice. Because in those first few years, the balance still looks high. The account still has plenty of zeros. That feeling of abundance hides the bleeding. Walter, during that same stretch, is living a little differently. He traveled too, enjoyed life too. But within a system, he stuck to 4%, not a penny more. By the end of year 3, they both still have a solid amount left. The difference still looks small, but there's something Donnie hasn't seen yet, something that's about to change everything in the next few years. Let's talk about the expenses no one puts on the spreadsheet. It's not the trip, not the renovation, not dinner out. It's the stuff that creeps in slowly. The stuff that doesn't show up in year 1. The stuff that grows while you're not paying attention. Number 1, healthcare. According to Fidelity, one of the largest retirement managers in the U.S., a 65-year-old can expect to spend, on average, $172,500 on medical expenses throughout retirement. That's based on 2025 data. $172,500. And that doesn't include long-term care, doesn't include uncovered medications, doesn't include dental, doesn't include vision. That's just the basic. And it's already a lot. Donnie didn't factor that number in when he planned his early retirement spending. Walter did. Number 2, the new expenses no one saw coming. When you stop working, some costs disappear. No commute, no office clothes, no grabbing lunch out every week. But other costs show up to replace them. And they're usually bigger bucket list trips, gifts for the grandkids, renovations that kept getting pushed off, hobbies you finally have time for, subscriptions, clubs, classes. Each one feels reasonable on its own, but together they add up to what experts call lifestyle inflation. And in retirement, it's even more dangerous because there's no growing paycheck on the other side to keep up with it. Donnie felt each of those expenses as something he'd earned. Walter treated each one like a decision that had to pass the system. Day to day, that difference feels small. Over 20 years, it's the difference between having money and running out. But we still haven't shown the number that really separates the two. That number shows up in the next part. Let's run the numbers. Year by year, starting point. They both have $480,000 in their 401k and $1,850 a month from Social Security. Donnie withdraws 6% a year from his savings, about $28,800 annually, on top of Social Security. Walter withdraws 4%, $19,200 a year, also on top of Social Security. That's a difference of roughly $9,600 a year, less than $800 a month. Doesn't sound like much. Let's see what happens. Year 5. Donnie has around $340,000. The balance dropped, but it still feels comfortable. Walter has about $385,000. The gap between them is already $45,000. Year 10. Donnie is down to about $180,000. The decline is speeding up because a smaller balance earns less, while withdrawals stay the same. Walter has around $275,000. The gap has now passed $95,000. Donnie starts to feel like something's off, but by now, it's hard to change the pattern. Year 15. Donnie has less than $50,000 left. He's in panic mode, cutting expenses he never thought he'd have to cut, leaning more and more on Social Security just to cover the basics. Walter has about $180,000 stable with options. Year 19. Donnie runs out of money. He's 79, 80 years old, and the savings he spent 40 years building are gone. Social Security covers part of his expenses, but not all of them, especially with healthcare costs still rising. Walter, in year 20, still has over $100,000, and the peace of mind that comes with knowing his money's going to last. The difference wasn't the trip, wasn't the renovation, wasn't dinner out. It was the system. The discipline of withdrawing 4% instead of 6%. The choice to treat every expense as a conscious decision, not just an automatic result of freedom. But before we call Walter the clear winner, we've got to be honest. Donnie wasn't irresponsible. Donnie was human. According to a study from the Employee Benefit Research Institute, published in 2024, 31% of retired Americans say they're spending more than they can afford. 31%. And that number is up from 17% in 2020. That's not a small group. That's almost 1 in 3. And another stat from the same institute, half of all retirees say their expenses ended up higher than they expected. Half. So Donnie isn't the exception, he's the norm. And there's a real logic behind the way he acted. He worked for 40 years. Put off trips, put off renovations, put off experiences. He built up this mental tab of everything he deserved to finally enjoy, and retirement felt like the time to cash it in. The problem isn't the desire. The problem is not having a system that turns that desire into numbers that actually last. If Donnie had extra income, a pension, a rental property, a part-time job, the story might have played out differently. If he'd started with more money, he'd have had a bigger margin for error. But with $480,000 and no other income streams, pulling 6 to 7% a year just isn't sustainable. The math doesn't lie. So the question isn't, was Donnie at fault? The real question is, what are you going to do differently? So who won? The honest answer is, it depends. Walter won on paper. He still has money at 83, while Donnie doesn't. That's a fact. But Walter only won because he had a system. And a system only works if you actually stick to it, even on the days when it feels unnecessary, even when everyone around you is spending, even when you feel like you deserve more. The 4% rule isn't perfect. There are real debates around it, but it's a reference point, a starting line, a number that separates sustainable behavior from unsustainable behavior. Donnie didn't fail because he spent money. He failed because he spent without a system. No ceiling, no adjustments, and the difference between the two of them wasn't character, it was structure. If you're retiring now or planning to retire soon, here's the question this video leaves you with. Do you have a system or do you have hope? Hope that the money will last. Hope that your spending will somehow balance itself out. Hope that something will show up if the balance drops too low. Hope isn't a retirement plan. A system is. Donnie and Walter started in the exact same place. Same age, same money, same first Monday with no alarm. The difference between them wasn't luck. It wasn't the market. It wasn't inheritance. It was a decision repeated every single month for 20 years. 4% or 6%. With a system or without one. With a ceiling or no ceiling at all. Those decisions feel small when you're making them. You only see how big they really are when you look back or ahead 20 years later. So here's the question that sticks. Which one are you being right now? Not in year 20. Right now, on this first Monday, on that first trip, on that first renovation, if you don't have a withdrawal system in place yet, that's your next step. Not the most exciting one, but the most important. If this video helped you in any way, hit like and subscribe to the channel. Help grow this community. Really appreciate it.